Hey, what's up guys? UrAvgWarGamer is back with another video of Warships. And today I have a very special video for you guys, and it's about the tier list for all the research bureau ships that we have available right now, starting from some of the newest ships. As you can see, we have Brennus as well as the Hull that have released like recently, and we will take a look at some of the older research bureau ships that just happened to be at the time when the research bureau itself introduced by wargaming into World of Warships. Like for example, the Ohio, the Colbert. Now there are some older ships, like relatively older ships, but definitely released after Ohio, and that is like Siegfried, the Vampire 2. I will be explaining every bit of that ship, and we'll give you the recommendation whether they are going to be lying in this tier list. As you can see, I have S tier all the way up to D tier, and these are my thoughts and opinions. And obviously, since I've been playing this game for like almost 7 years, from like since 2018 from now, I have a lot of information. I can give you a really good recommendation, and I have tons of experience under my belt as a 65% win rate player. I'm not bragging here. I'm just giving you some idea that I am playing this game relatively decent, if not like super duper unicum, still making up good numbers out there, and giving you a good tier list so that you can get a lot of value from this guide. So if you do like the content, please like, share, and subscribe. And let's talk about our number first ship. That is actually the newest one. That is the French tier 10 heavy cruiser, the Brennus. So how would I rate Brennus? Well, to be honest, I kind of liked that they have given Brennus a 305mm guns. If I'm not wrong, it has 7 guns, and I kind of feel like that it really gets to the B tier. Good. I mean, I can put it into the powerful, but there are some of the things that it does not have compared to, I would say, the Tech 3 French cruiser, the Henry 4. Henry 4 is kind of like the direct competitor to the Brennus. Brennus is actually having the similar hull to like of Henry 4, except it has different caliber guns, higher caliber guns, better reload time, but again, it does not have access to a couple of things, which I will explain, and possibly the reason why I would rate it into this B tier. That's my opinion. I think it's good, but it's not that good enough to be a powerful ship or a very powerful or even broken. So, Brennus, I will get it into the port and we will check out the Brennus and the reasons why I believe Brennus is not that worth it. Like I would say, compared to Henry 4, I would kind of rate Henry 4 to be slightly better than Brennus, and these are the reasons why. So there it is. We have the Brennus right now in our port, and I will explain the strengths of the Brennus, that why it is even remotely interesting to buy in the first place. Now, Brennus actually has cruiser dispersion on 305mm guns. Now, this is sort of an upgrade compared to the Henry 4. Now, that is a Tech 3 French cruiser that you can get for free by grinding it. Obviously, the Brennus is also kind of free technically by research bureau points, but still, Brennus does have better firing range. You have 305mm caliber guns that has really solid reload time at around 12 seconds with the reload mod. But again, the Brennus actually has only 7 guns. It does have, however, cruiser dispersion, which is basically the similar as Henry 4. Henry 4 also have access to cruiser dispersion. So Brennus with higher punching guns have cruiser dispersion, but again, it does not having anything special. Like, it's not gonna overmatch anything more than 16mm, if I'm not wrong. Like, you can literally overmatch Minotaur, Colbert, Smolensk. You can do that. But you can also do that in the Henry 4 as well, because 240mm guns also overmatches those like cruisers. So there's not that much of a difference. The only difference is that they are hard hitting. The HE shells does have 50mm pen. That is definitely better than Henry, because the German decks are 50mm, and you find a lot of German ships out there in the randoms or in the ranked. That's where the Brennus will obviously going to get full pens. I don't exactly remember the shell velocity, but it could be better. Maybe I can check those numbers out. But again, I'm not impressed with these low amount of shells, even though they are very accurate. The range is slightly better, but it's not like significantly better compared to Henry. Like if I maybe get the I would say leg mod on Henry, it would kinda be exactly almost or slightly more in Henry than Brennus if I get the the leg mod, which I haven't, because it improves the main infantry firing range, and Brennus has kinda built-in improved firing range. But again, you don't have access to reload booster. This is a big downside. You don't have access to main battery load booster. I'm talking about the main battery load booster. You don't have access to even the hydro. Hydro is so much essential on a cruiser. You just don't have it. Unfortunately, the Henry has it. I don't know why they didn't consider giving Brennus this essential consumable like hydro. This is a big downside. Like this combined with the reload booster, these two factors are the reason that why I'm kinda rate Brennus a bit short than Henry 4. Otherwise, a great cruiser. Like you do have the speed parameters, speed juking capabilities of Brennus is pretty good. But that is also the case with Henry 4. The only difference that Henry 4 is gonna be having sort of a downside that if you want to have a captain, like for example the Flip Abonio, you just cannot have it. Brennus can easily able to get this Flip Abonio on top of Brennus, which can definitely gives a huge value. Like you will have 8% ship speed bonus once you have 2 million potential damage, or maybe even an increase in fire chance, even though I would say the fire chance is also a bit anemic. Like considering you have 305mm guns, the fire chance isn't that much high. For example, in the case of Henry 4, the difference or the jump is like almost negligible. You have 22% fire chance on these 240mm guns. Maybe I might have flags. Let me check the flags if I have the flags on Henry. No, I don't have the flags. So yeah, I haven't put the flags on Brennus, and that is a bit of a down. Like this is actually a big downside. Like your fire chance is so anemic, so Henry 4 will have a lot much more chance in setting fires, and the penetration isn't that bad. Like you have 40mm armor pen, which is basically at least able to pen the superstructures of I would say the Petro, the Napoli. These are the main suspects that you find in the games where they can bow tank and just a push or whatever. So Henry 4 is perfectly capable in doing that. Only difference again, 50mm armor, which I would say isn't that impressive. You don't have main battery load booster, and that's it. I mean, the pen alpha, AP pen alpha is good. Maybe the shell velocity might be better, but I still don't like Brennus because of these lacking things which I have explained. Although on the other hand, you do have more set of torpedoes. Like instead of having 3 on each side, you have 6 on each side. I mean, these are gonna help you a lot in close quarters if there is a battleship that you can want, or I would say you want to push. But again, I mean, in a Brennus without a hydro, and there is a torpedo boat destroyer or any battleship that has remotely some torpedoes, it will be a lot much rougher. And especially against submarines, if you're pushing, it's gonna be even more rough because of lacking of hydro. Like this is a big downside. That's the reason why I have put it into the good. And I would slightly rate it less than Henry. And by the way, we have Marseille that has 330mm guns, having main battery load booster, having hydro. So I don't know why Wargaming did not implemented the hydro or given the Brennus this value, like these consumables like you find on the Henry and Marseille. It's insane. I don't know. Your anti-defense is also a bit poorer, for example, compared to Henry. I don't want to go into the numbers, but it's definitely worse than Marseille for sure. So Brennus, in terms of entire department, will feel pretty lacking as well. The tier 10 carriers can eat you. Obviously, this entire defense is not good at all. Concealment is pretty much similar. Maybe you might balance it with the help of like improved concealment compared to Henry, but again, the concealment is same. The only thing that you have is the speed juking capabilities. Maybe the speed might be interesting, but it's actually not. The speed is also pretty much the same. Brennus and Henry both have exactly same speed. So that is the unfortunate reality. The speed boost even also, like as you can see, it's 20%. So this is the reason why I don't like Brennus. In my opinion, it can slap cruisers with cruiser dispersion, but I mean the stalling dot can do that as well for a steel cruiser. That is amazing. So I don't understand any reason why would you want to buy Brennus. Like this is not worth it, at least, but it's not bad. It's not like it's average or below average. It's at least good because it still have punchy guns, but that's about it. And that's why the Brennus is going to be B tier, good ship for sure, but I still would recommend you to look at the A tiers or A plus tier if there are going to be ships, which I will be explaining. So don't buy this. unless you have bought the above tier ships. Okay, so the next ship is going to be the Druid. If I'm not wrong, this is the British tier 10 Minotaur, almost a Minotaur because it only shoots AP, having guns on the front. The both turrets are on the front, which kind of gives some unique advantages to Druid. And I would say the Druid is at A tier. It's a really good ship. It has really interesting advantages, especially even if I just compare it with, I would say, the Barbiano. Like fighting, like Barbiano is insane. Like you have 640k SAP DPM. The Druid is actually very unique enough that you bow in to the Barbiano and you basically mitigate a whole lot of damage. And meanwhile, you can just do a lot of damage in return because he cannot angle. And I mean, he wants to shoot all the guns. So he just, want to not like super angle. Meanwhile, you just fully angled against the Barbiano sap and you can just do so much damage in return. Meanwhile, the AP performance kind of works like, I would say, sap in a very different way. And by the way, I would say these AP hits like a truck on light cruisers if they show broadside. But let's go and check that ship out in the game as well. Alright, so this is the Druid in our port, and the reasons and the strengths why I like Druid a lot. You have AP only, but they perform kind of like Minotaur. It has a couple of characteristics like Minotaur. Maybe I can show you the very important stats so that you can understand why Druid AP is really powerful and can be utilized even against broadside light cruisers at close ranges. So we will be taking a look at the Druid AP shell parameters versus Daring. I think there are a lot of other ships. Maybe I can just put the Elbing, for example, because Elbing also have unique sort of AP. But here's the very interesting thing about Druid. Now, Druid does not have insane AP pen like Elbing, but it does have better AP pen than Daring, and also have improved ricochet angles like 60 to 75 degrees. And also have a very, very good threshold of 12mm, which means that at broadside destroyers, you will absolutely gonna smash DDs with full pens. Meanwhile, the Daring will also do that because 19mm is the extremity, like the side armor. Mostly of the DDs start from 19mm, so Daring can also pen, but less ricochet angles. And Druid has actually pretty much similar ricochet angles as you will find on the Alberico da Barbiano, which is the newest SAP insane DPM SAP, I would say, destroyer. And you can see here, the ricochet angles is 60 to 75 degrees. And well, Druid also have pretty much similar ricochet angles, but then you have a huge advantage. It's not having like insane DPM. Don't get me wrong, the Druid does not have even like close to have that DPM like Alberico da Barbiano, but at least you have improved penetration. At 12 kilometers, you have 85mm pen. But once you reduce the firing range, you started to now cross 103mm threshold or 100mm threshold, which means you can actually, settle Minotaur. And at a very good angles, like you can settle Minotaur, Smolensk, Colbert at around 10 at I would say lower firing range, which is absolutely impressive. Your alpha is pretty okay, 2.2k, but I mean it's not like crazy high like Elbing again, but again, you do have really good rate of fire. Like your rate of fire is impressive. Druid does have really good rate of fire, even though it has only 2 turrets, only 127mm guns, but again, the DPM is respectable. You can see here the Daring has 270k DPM. It does not have access to HE shells. That's a big downside, but I think the Druid which having special characteristics which I have explained in the AP, it just makes it still pretty interesting. And you do have the short burst smokes, which I would say are the best smokes in the game. As you can see here, the Druid does have heals like Daring. And by the way, you can heal slightly more HP because the base HP of Druid compared to Daring is higher. And you do have short burst smoke generator, which is, I would say, the amazing utility that you can get. I mean, the amazing thing about the Druid is that you don't need to use sometimes smokes. You can use the bow in situation, which let me show you. Like, you have this bowing in power, right? I mean, you can just shoot the guns. You can smoke when you need to, but you can just, bait a lot of battleship shells, like here and there. Like, most of the time, I would say the what do you call it? Like the horizontal dispersion? The dispersion would be like this. It's not like hitting to this way. Like if you are angled, bowing in like this and shooting to the battleship, it's going to be very, very difficult. to land a lot of shells from the battleship volley. And you can always smoke up. Like smoking up is super easy. You have a lot of smoke, short burst smoke generator, but I mean, you can just do so good because of that bowing in situation. Like I can't emphasize enough, man. It's really good. Man, AP, just like I said, improved ricochet angles. You can pen DDs even at extreme angles. It's so good. And then you just pen battleships upper belt. You have really good pen, solid pen. You can just most likely penetrate a lot of upper belts of the ships out there, German ships even. I might need to check. Maybe I might be wrong. But again, you do have amazing shell AP, which I would say makes it pretty nice. I'm not going to say super interesting, but it still has a niche that I don't find it anywhere on. Like, I mean, the Brennus does not fill any special niche, and that's why it's not unique at all. But Druid still has some areas which, with the AP performance, that makes it unique. And the survivability, you can see here, it's better than Daring. The Daring has 24,000 HP. Druid has 28,000, almost 29,000 HP. And also, the big benefit, the huge benefit that Druid has is that you can easily put Andrew Cunningham, like in the case of Brennus, but Druid can simply slap Andrew Cunningham and get free, almost free extra heal. Like, I mean, getting 2 kills is not difficult. To be honest, if you kill a DD and then you kill a battleship, maybe if it is pushing in, you get 2 kills, which gives you extra consumables, which again is an amazing thing for Druid. Like, you will have so many smokes and then you will have extra heal. You already have 3 heals that heal quite some HP. You heal 10% of the total ship HP and you have almost 3,000 HP. 30,000 HP. So you will have 4 heals. And then you have the short hydro, like on the Daring. Again, very good to just dodge torpedoes and just maybe even hunt the submarines out there. It is amazing because of that. The speed, however, isn't something impressive. You don't have the speed boost. You do have the acceleration, improved acceleration parameters. You actually have one big downside, and that is going to be its detection. The detection is worse than Daring's, 0.6 kilometer to be precise, which is, I would say, obviously because of the balancing reason. If it would have like 6.26 kilometer concealment like that of Daring, it would be extremely powerful. And I mean, trading against DDs, if you caught a DD off guard like this, it's just so good. Like, it just trade DDs like crazy. I mean, if the DD does not have smoke, for example, he shoots you, you smoke up, and now he cannot disengage because someone else is spotting him, and he does not have smoke, and now you can just boom, 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 and you just shoot AP, you just have insane reload time. The improved pen angles is so good. He has to be stupidly angered like crazy, bowing in or like stern in to just mitigate some damage, and you still be able to kill him. If he shows a bit of a broadside, just like Sap, because I would kind of compare it directly with Barbiano, improved ricochet angles, basically similar ricochet angles like that of Barbiano, makes it still pretty powerful. Also, you can use the islands as cover super effectively. Like, you can just hide 66% of the ship's area. Like, you can just hide this behind the island, this whole part, and you can just use the islands as cover, and then you just pew, 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 pew. Like, this is not possible in any other destroyer because most of the destroyer guns are also at the back. But the Druid has all 100% guns on the front, so you can just abuse the islands like absolutely crazy. So you just have so many opportunities like no other DD, I would say. And especially you do have the smoke. Like, smoke is so good. The only thing that you don't have also, compared to Daring, which is a big downside, is I would say, the torpedoes. Yes, that is a huge downside. I must say the Daring is overall more flexible, more, I would say, versatile, having a lot of other utilities, having good concealment, but Druid has some specific niche that I still feel it to be pretty satisfying to, play with. So that's why I really, really love the Druid, and I highly recommend you guys to play. It's a powerful destroyer. I'm not gonna say absolutely insanely very powerful, but highly recommend the ship, especially with Andrew Cunningham. Easy to apply, no need to retrain, and yeah, I think I just explained everything. The entire defense is basically similar, almost to Daring if I'm not wrong. So it's slightly even better if I'm not wrong. Yeah, slightly better. But again, at this point, we will have the, I think, carrier rework. I don't know when they will be releasing that carrier rework, but yeah, if I just take a look at the AA defense, it's slightly better than Daring. which is a good sign. But that's basically it. Rudder shift point of view, there is going to be slightly bit of a difference. There are a couple of differences, but I mean the AP is basically like a Minotaur, whatever you like. It's like a mini Minotaur in a package like Druid. Like, that's why I love Druid. You can just play it and you will have a lot of fun. I must say, and it's powerful too. And it can somehow have a good chance in carrying games without even torpedoes. I mean, if it would have some torpedoes, if Druid would have torpedoes, it becomes A plus tier. But right now for me, A tier is for sure. I could put it to A plus tier. That depending upon how good you are in the game, you can just abuse so many of its strengths, like islands abuse and all that other stuff. But I would kind of rate it to be A tier. It's very powerful, and I would compared to Brennus, I would highly recommend to buy this ship. But there are some other ships which before, I mean, you should look at those ships before even taking a look or buy the ship in the first place. Alright, so the next ship that I will be talking about is going to be the tier 10 light cruiser. That's one of the first Research Bureau ships that Wargaming has added for RB points or Research Bureau points. Obviously, I'm talking about the Colbert. Now, I can rate Colbert either A plus tier. I'm not going to be putting at all S tier, but I can either put it into A plus tier, A tier, B tier, or even C tier, and even D tier. The ship has so many tools for sure in terms of firepower, and the performance is insane in its DPM, but it totally depends upon your playstyle. If you are not able to get a good feel of the Colbert, it can easily go into the average, because that's how it's gonna be. It is actually a high risk but insanely high reward cruiser. It has a lot of guns. I will talk about the DPM and all that stuff that it has. It having some unique strengths still, but I mean, then we have Alberico da Barbariano, and it kind of have like filled some of the niche like Colbert in a different way with the sap. But still, if you ask me, I can put the Colbert, in my personal opinion, to be very powerful. Sorry, not very powerful, but only powerful. Again, if you are a very, very good cruiser main, I could put it into very powerful. But if you are not a good cruiser main, I would say you can just put it into the D tier, and it is entirely possible that you just completely fuck up its gameplay and its strengths that it has. So, to safely assume, and I would personally rate it for myself, and generally for some of you guys, I would put it into this safe zone, A tier, not these tiers. Okay, let's talk about why. Alright, so Colbert. In terms of HP pool, I would say in terms of that, the strength of the Colbert isn't gonna be that like up to the mark or charts. I mean, it's okay. 41,100, I would say, is still pretty impressive for a light cruiser. But again, it's not going to top the charts, like anywhere close. But because of the survivability that Wargaming has given, in terms of having extra heal, like for example, usually cruisers get 4 heals, it gets 5 heals, and it also heals citadel damage a lot and pen damage as well, like more than 50%. I might need to check the numbers, but it does have improved characteristics in terms of repairing citadel and pen damage. You can just do quite a lot of healing overall with the help of this heal. So that is good. There is no doubt about that. But it has the biggest weakness of the Colbert, that its armor is not good. Like the armor, the Super Unicum players can build this armor, 50mm armor plating, 80mm armor plating. This is a citadel, by the way, this is a citadel armor, so it's a big, gigantic. Broadsiding is going to be hugely punished. So that's going to be a problem. Colbert also have, like, I would say, look at this deck armor, so you're just going to be taking a lot of citadels even from the deck, if I'm not wrong. So armor scheme is not good. But what is good is the DPM. The HP pool is, again, just like I said, above average or better than average. The damage output of the Colbert is the reason why we want to play this ship. Like, this ship has insane DPM numbers. You have destroyer guns, 127mm, but the reload time on 16 of these guns is 3 seconds. Yeah, I'm not joking. This is 3 seconds of reload time. You have the range kind of like destroyers at 13.8. Again, not impressive. The shell arcs are not impressive whatsoever. But what it does, that you just hug the islands. If you can properly abuse the islands, this is just a non-stop, HE spammer that just set fires upon fires. You have 7% fire chance. You can improve it with the help of these fire flags That's 8%. You can even get even more fire chance if you have Filippo Bonio. Again, pretty easy to get this captain and pretty easy to slap this without having any downsides. You don't need to retrain any commander whatsoever for applying it to Colbert. You will get extra fire chance. You will get extra speed. I mean, these are the extra benefits, as well as you will get the extra survivability expert. And hence the reason why you are seeing the HP more than 41,000. So these are the things that kind of makes Colbert even more stronger with the help of Filippo Bonio. But even though you can have even more HP, 43,000, which kind of makes it now impressive, the downside, I have shown you, the armor is weak. The entire defense is also not something that is, I would say, special. You can shoot down planes, but again, you having a weaker hull, you will be getting, HE rocket hard. Like you will be getting penned by almost every, I would say, carrier out there with their HE rockets. So you will be getting penned hard. So you will take a lot of damage from carriers. You do have good maneuverability, which is nice. But again, your concealment is also good. With all these good things, it's difficult to play. I can't emphasize enough. Using the guns and staying alive is very, very important. It's crucial to just not eat citadels when you are using all the guns, because the firing angles gets quickly bad the moment you get like very heavily angled or something. So it definitely needs a lot much more broadside to shoot all the guns. But if you can able to use the AP, because AP DPM is just through the roof, you can use the AP DPM, can just do so much damage onto the unsaturated areas of the battleships if they are close or something. You can even abuse at close ranges this Citadel belt armor, which is only 80mm. So you can also do these sort of things. Again, Super Unicum cruiser player will just absolutely abuse the strengths of Colbert, but it still does not have utility like radar. It does have a speed boost, which is really nice. You can have pretty decent speed, like Henry Marseille, but it's still gonna be having these sort of the biggest downside. Just like I said, bad armor overall. It takes a lot of citadels if you are not angled properly, and it's not for beginners. In fact, it's for basically experts if you want to really carry in Colbert. But if you able to understand the strengths and weaknesses, and you can just play by using the islands as cover, or sometimes you can just bowing into those cruisers that just cannot overmatch you, you're just simply gonna be a beast. Like honestly, if you're bowing in, you have still insanely good DPM than many other cruisers in the game. And a lot of good players, they do that on a regular basis. Like the Hindenburg cannot overmatch you, right? You do have this armor, as you can see, you cannot be overmatched. 16mm, only the Stalingrad or 305mm guns or 240mm guns will have a good chance against you when you are bowing in. Even the Petro will not having a hard time. So you can just bowing into those cruisers and can just outfarm them in return by setting fires and just getting pens onto the superstructure. That's the strength of the Colbert, and the weakness at the same time, really bad armor. If you understand, well, you can make the Colbert work. But in my opinion, I would rate it to be powerful, not very powerful, or not even close to broken. Again, totally it depends upon your playstyle. Alright, so the next ship is going to be the Gibraltar, which is the British tier 10 heavy cruiser, basically having a Minotaur version in terms of AP performance, but having bigger, powerful guns. Like Minotaur style AP, like you can pen destroyers with this, like with these 234mm guns, broadside destroyers. You will just heavily punish them with improved sap angles. Oh, sorry, the AP angles, not sap angles. The AP angles obviously are exactly like Druid, 60 to 75 degree ricochet angles. So, and they have the very short fuse, which I will explain here. Like look at the Gibraltar, exactly the same ricochet angles, the threshold, and the fuse time like Druid. So you pen destroyers like crazy. You can actually absolutely chunk cruisers and can citadel them pretty nicely at, like, for example, if you just take out like 13km, you have 232mm pen. So pen is really good. You can even penetrate a lot of like upper belt armor on battleships. You have pretty decent guns, to be honest. Like these are basically Minotaur guns tuned up to the higher caliber, like in this case Gibraltar. But even then, I'm not going to be putting the Gibraltar into this tier to be like powerful. For me, the reason why B tier is reasonable for this ship, maybe I could put it to be powerful, but there are some of the reasons that why I'm doing this. Now, let me show you that in the game. There's the Gibraltar. The biggest reason that I would say is not making me impressed by this ship is, even though you have really good guns, but then you have basically a SAP version in a very weird way. Like you do kind of like SAP in the case of facing destroyers. You just do a lot of damage to DDs. Yes, you do have AP, so SAP does not citadel cruisers, but AP does. That's a big advantage, but even then, you have to show a lot of broadside. Your citadel is definitely quite raised. You don't have access to super heal like Minotaur, and your smokes, even though you do have smokes, by the way, which kind of makes it unique, it still kind of suffers from the bad, I would say, firing in smoke. As you can see here, you have 9.5 kilometer main battery firing guns in smoke. So that is definitely sort of a downside. If you misposition yourself in Gibraltar and there's a DD nearby, you will be getting spotted in the smoke, and that would be a huge downside. You do have heals, but these are pretty much normal heals, no super heals. And then you have to show a lot of broadside to shoot the guns. Like, for example, you can just shoot the front turrets, but if you want to shoot the back turret, you have to show a lot of broadside like this, which makes you pretty susceptible to be taking a lot of citadel damage from battleships. And you, just like I said, you have HP, you don't have good torpedo protection, which I would like to tell you, but you do have HP, but it's not good enough. In the case of Gibraltar, you do have 40mm deck armor, but then you have 30mm side armor. I think this is the same case like Gudeliu, if I'm not wrong. Gudeliu also have 40mm deck, but 30mm side armor. So you're still going to be getting smashed by a lot of battleships. Yes, there's going to be some bounces, but I still say that this big superstructure and then this 25mm bow armor and then your citadel is pretty big. As you can see, gigantic citadel. You can just take so much damage from the bow if someone overmatches you. It's rough. Compared to Venezia, it's not giving you anything special except you will just citadel the cruisers. That's how I would say. The battleships, you can penetrate them. Maybe at close ranges, if I'm not wrong, you can even citadel them. But again, at super close ranges, that is the case. You don't have any torpedoes. That's another big downside. Compared to Minotaur, you don't have any torpedoes. And this is something that you should have, and I would say must have, if you have a smoke, which makes you want to farm damage in smoke, but also, if there's a battleship pushing you, you want to send the torpedo so that you have some sort of self-defense if he pushes too much. But Gibraltar has none of that torpedo power at all. So this is a big downside that I have to say. Your consumer is also 12.7 kilometer, like that of heavy cruisers. Not going to impress you anyway. Overmatch is there, 16mm overmatch. Definitely chunks light cruisers pretty hard, like Colbert, Smolensk, Minotaur. Sure, that is good. But even then, I'm not a big fan of that. The Venezia fills this niche perfectly, except you just citadel the cruisers, which I will emphasize it again and again. You just can have some games, some good games, but you have to show broadside. This citadel is not something that I kind of like at all. And that's the reason why Gibraltar for me is good like Brennus. Not filling that special niche where Venezia can do that, and Gibraltar just unfortunately is not unique enough for me. And does have some weaknesses, which kind of makes it not good. Even though I would say that if Gibraltar gets 10-kilometer radar, just like Minotaur, like you have alternate, you have smoke or either radar, that might be making the ship interesting. While also, if they buff the concealment then maybe we might start to see some interesting aspect of Gibraltar with the radar. But otherwise, B tier, it's a good ship, but it's not something that I would highly recommend over the Druid or Colbert, for example. Those are better ships, unique ships more than them. So that's the thing. Alright, so the next ship that I'm going to be talking about is going to be, I would say, the Commonwealth Cruiser at tier 9, if I'm not wrong. That is the Hector. So if you would ask me if I would rate Hector, I haven't played that ship much, to be very fair, or almost at all. I don't just find anything very interesting in this ship. Like, this has the smoke, the crawling smoke, like that of tier 10, which you can grind it for free. I don't remember the names, the Cerberus, yeah. But it does have sort of like destroyer caliber guns, but having decent DPM. You do have crawling smoke. You have short hydro, like that of Daring. Like the hydro duration lasts very, very long. That's probably the unique thing. And also the torpedoes having pretty decent range, 12 kilometer. But Even upon all this, I just don't feel that it's making it having a very like interesting niche. Like it's not unique whatsoever for me. So I would kind of rate it to be B. Again, these all ships, they just don't feel unique for me. They even though you can even maybe put it into A tier because it does have smoke, it does have even the super heal like that of Mino, but even then I just don't find it to be very interesting or special. And the Cerberus at tier 10 can fill this niche properly, and you don't have that submarine surveillance that you would love to see on Commonwealth cruiser. It does not have it. So because of this, Hector is definitely not my cup of tea, to be honest. Like, even if I look at the numbers of the Hector, you can see here you have the the repair party, which is like the specialized. You can super heal quite much. Like Mino, you can heal citadel damage 50%, pen damage 50%, but again, you don't have improved penetration damage healing capacity. So you may be able to use like 2-3 charges at best, like 2 charges at best, before the other two charges gonna be only used for fires healing or floods healing, which I'm not gonna say that you will be taking a lot of fires or floods in this ship because you do have the crawling smoke. So it's definitely weird in the case of super heals. Like super heals, you can only utilize full 2 at best because of the amount of penetration. Do have short range hydro, but again, I'm not so much interested in this. Yes, it can help a lot because you will dodge the torpedoes, and you have the crawl smoke, sure. But even then, with this HE, you have HE shells, which is really nice for a cruiser. Why I would kind of rate it over Cerberus, I don't know. I don't think so. It's really that good compared to Cerberus. I mean, torpedoes is definitely something I would say makes it interesting compared to the line that we have, the Commonwealth cruiser. Other than that, the concealment maybe makes it a bit more interesting. Like 9.4 kilometer detection is actually pretty good. But even then, I am not interested in Hector at all. It's not filling the niche. Like, I could rate it powerful because it does have really good utilities, but even then, I'm not a fan. I'm not a fan. You have a lot of torpedoes, good firing angles. You have 8 torpedoes there, 8 torpedoes there. You can send a lot of torpedoes. But again, I'm still not a fan of Hector whatsoever. So for me, and also by the way, the entire defense is not that good. These are a couple of things which kind of makes it not really, like, it does not interest me personally, to be honest. Maybe you might be the guy that say, hey, I like the smoke, crawling smoke, and I like HE spam, and I want the Cerberus like HE spam at tier 9. Sure, then you can put it to be A tier. But for me, not interesting whatsoever, and you want to spend a lot of research points for that. That's a questionable thing. All right. So the next ship that I would like to talk is going to be the newest destroyer that Wargaming has released, and it's gonna be Hull, the American destroyer. And boy, I absolutely love this destroyer so much that I kind of rate the Hull to be A+ tier. It's actually very powerful. That's my personal opinion. I think that the Hull definitely fares better compared to Druid in many ways. Like, the Hull is a thing that does heal a lot of HP compared to Druid. Yes, you don't have smokes. That's the big downside. You don't have smoke compared to Druid. Druid does have some insane survivability with the help of short burst, but again, you have insane survivability in the case of having sort of a super heal like you find on Khabarovsk. And for me, it's definitely pretty unique. Unique because it has almost Des Moines guns. Yes, Des Moines cruiser guns. We are talking about Des Moines 203mm guns, except having just slightly less, penetration, AP penetration, like just slightly less. I'm talking about cruiser guns on a destroyer. Like, you can already see that why the Hull is gonna be pretty powerful. And on top of that, you have decent HE. You pen 32mm armor. With HE, your fire chance is exactly like Des Moines. Your HE alpha is exactly like Des Moines. Your AP performs almost like Des Moines. You have almost the same alpha, as you can see, 4.9k compared to Des Moines 5. So that makes it pretty good. And I mean, if you want to build it better, you can have better AP alpha with 7.5k, which just makes Hull absolutely insane in just crushing cruisers in the middle of nowhere. Like, you just pop in the middle of nowhere and you just crush cruisers and light cruisers. You can citadel even cruisers at around 12-13 kilometer, because again, Des Moines guns, it just makes it so powerful. Like, you have a concealment like those of destroyers, not exactly like super concealed destroyer, like you can have a detect of 6.5 kilometer, but that is insanely impressive for 203 millimeter guns on a destroyer hull, which is hull. And then you have almost 30,000 HP, and on top of that, you can heal back 7,000 HP per heal. 7,000 HP per heal, and by the way, you can just heal a lot of pen damage. You have, I think, if I'm not wrong, you can heal 60% of the pen damage. So you can just utilize all the heals like so easily, and you just have a theoretical HP of more than, like, how much HP you will get, like 28,000. 28,000 plus 30,000, that's like what? 40,000, 50. That's like almost 60,000 HP worth of like hull. It's insane. You just heal so much HP, and you're just gonna get overpens from battleship if they shoot AP. That is really good. Like, the hull is super powerful even without smokes. You just a very, very good kiting, farming destroyer that just refuse to sort of die. Like, it's not easy to kill. And I mean, if there are cruisers, you actually have access to 15% engine boost to give you even more survivability. So you can just speed juke here and there. You can easily speed juke battleships without speed boost, right? But you can have a very high chance of taking damage from cruisers because it's still a Forest Sherman hull. This is a Forest Sherman hull where you have 203 millimeter guns. But then Wargaming has decided to give in this ship the speed boost, and now you can speed juke cruisers as well. That is insane. Your range is pretty impressive, 14.8, so very, very comfortable. I don't know the reason why you would play Khabarovsk if you have Hull. Like, Hull is just so good in its niche, and then you just can even send torpedoes. You do also have some torpedoes. Again, Sherman-like tops, 2 torpedoes on one side, having very tighter firing angles. So, yeah, again, the Sherman niche is there, but these torpedoes definitely sometimes hurt if you hit 2, and I definitely have done that many times. So these torpedoes are pretty good with this impressive 16.5 kilometer range. What makes it even more impressive is this anti-defense. I can't emphasize enough that this anti-defense with 6.9 kilometer, even though it's gonna change quite a lot after the rework, but still, at least till we get that rework, I would still say the hull is very impressive in the anti-defense. Now, it's not like super impressive in just shooting down planes. You're just not suddenly gonna shoot down planes. But honestly, with defensive fire, which does have continuous damage 100%, I felt that I'm shooting down quite a lot of planes. Your long range A guns have decent firepower once you have like defensive air active, and this is like 6.9 kilometer range, long range. So that is super good against aircraft carriers once you have defensive air fire active with 100% continuous damage. You also have 6 flaks, and they hit like an absolute truck, 2.7k flak shell damage. And with defensive air fire, you're just gonna be absolutely killing planes if they get into your flaks. So anti-defense, even though the numbers might not look good, I have experienced that you do have a good chance in shooting down planes for sure. Even though the carriers can still hurt you, damage you, but then you do have super heals, so you can just mitigate a lot of the issues that carrier comes up with because of the heal and the defensive fire, or I would say the entire with really impressive range in general. Even though you won't be saving the world, like in the case of destroyer versus destroyer fight, it can be a bit rough. I haven't even talked about the improved pan angles, like basically Des Moines, like AP ricochet angles. I haven't talked that. I thought that I should at least mention that. But yeah, if I'm talking about the guns, you have HE, they will pen 32mm, like French, British cruisers, they will just gonna take full pen damage with all of your shells anywhere hitting onto that armor. Like, it's so good. Meanwhile, you do have destroyer dispersion, so it's not like having a worse dispersion, but again, not having like Elbing, a special dispersion, and you do have 3 guns. And single turrets sometimes behave in a weird way, like you find on Sherman. That's my personal opinion. So the shells that you throw onto a destroyer or cruiser or battleship can be wonky with destroyer dispersion, but even then, the reload time is still decent enough, 3 seconds, to just compensate. And your DPM is still good enough to take down destroyers in long range engagements, like at around 7, 8, 9 kilometers, relatively medium to long range engagements, you can actually out farm them with the help of heal. Otherwise, some good DPM destroyers will definitely gonna be killing you if you are not aware of the situation. But definitely very powerful. I would say it is a ship that you should buy. If you are looking to guide the ship, I would highly recommend this ship. Oh boy. This is, I would say, slightly better than Druid. That's my personal opinion. And if you think of putting the Halsey, which I haven't, you can put the Halsey, and man, if you get Confederate, oh, this reload time is just gonna get even better. Oh my god, this is so good. So yeah, Druid, what do you call it? The hull, very, very powerful. Like, really, really good ship. Alright, so the next ship that I'm going to be talking about is going to be another American ship. And that is also another very old battleship for research bureau points, and that is Ohio. Ohio is still very good. Honestly, still very, very powerful. The 457mm guns are still insanely good, and A+ tier, it deserves to be still. Like, yes, I definitely would recommend this ship, but if you would have maybe go back to like 5-6 years ago when they have released, maybe 6-7 years ago when they have released this ship, I don't exactly remember the time when they have introduced the research bureau points, because when they have introduced the research bureau points, then they have released the Ohio instantly. And at that time when they have released it, it was S tier, absolutely broken. There was no ship at that time that is that good like Ohio. But now, after so many ships, like insanely accurate battleships, like for example the Bungo, the Wisconsin, a lot of other ships, and some of the ships like Valparaiso, secondary brawler, I'm talking, like, that's just like sort of power creeping, that, you know, that 40 seconds of heal, it just makes it a bit like unfortunate. Yes, the overmatch is there, the gun's accuracy is still very good, which I will be explaining. Ohio, at least in my opinion, is still very, very powerful. Now, why it is powerful? Let me show you that quickly. So, this is the Ohio. First of all, taking a look at the survivability, very good HP at 101k. That's really good for tier 10 battleship. What makes Ohio really good is these guns. And then you do have secondaries. You are kind of a secondary brawler as well. But even if you don't want to have the engagement like secondary brawler, your guns are still pretty amazing. 457mm guns, they punch really hard, they have really good pen, and then your reload time is pretty good at 27.5 seconds. Your range is pretty decent at 21.7 kilometer. Could be sometimes lacking at some point where you are in a passive situation, but again, you can just improve it with the help of spotter planes, so no problems whatsoever. But what makes Ohio guns really good is this American Special Artillery Plotting Room Mod 2. Improving 11% dispersion, and on top of having 2.0 Sigma, which, by the way, if you compare it with Montana, has 1.9. If you compare it with Vermont with 12 guns, that also have 457mm guns, that also has 1.95. So it's having better Sigma than even Montana and Vermont. So that is like really good. Torpedo protection is almost, I would say, similar like Montana, and you're not giving up anything if you're using the Artillery Plotting Room Mod 2 for secondaries, because the secondaries just gonna be simply buffed like here. Yes, you are sacrificing main battery mod 3, but I mean, dispersion is something that you should definitely get on. Highly recommended on the American battleships. You will not miss main battery mod 3 if you apply this. The secondaries are pretty interesting. So, and I mean, you can use the Artillery Plotting Room mod 2 if you want to increase the range, but again, spotter plane gives you enough of that range to compensate for lacking with this upgrade. But Ohio, why it's good still? You have really good armor. Armor plating is still pretty powerful. Like, you do have this side armor. This is obviously the main belt, but this upper belt is still very, very resistant to a lot of ships. Now, I'm not going to say against, I would say, cruisers like Henry IV, for example, or the ships like Yoshino, Stalingrad. That's where it will definitely going to struggle and get a lot of pens. But the light cruisers, in general, will be having a lot of shatters here. Like, look at this. Even with the IFHE, they will only pen 32mm. The 38mm pen is not possible. They will only going to pen 37mm if I'm not wrong. So yeah, that's Ohio deck and the casemate armor. and also very resistant to be getting overmatched from for example from the Satsuma, from the Incomparable, all those heavy, super, overmatching guns that you might see. That's where Ohio can stay pretty angled. Your firing angles are pretty impressive. 30-degree firing angle, bowing in, kiting in, like firing angles pretty good. Secondaries are pretty good. Your range is 11.3 kilometer. You have a good fire chance with 9%. Like you can just set fires even though you don't have HE shell pen. Like your HE shell pen is not like Schlieffen. HE shell pen is not like, I would say, the Libertad, but it's still filling up some niche. If they get close to you, you will be setting a lot of fires and hitting onto their superstructure, at least at long to mid ranges. That's where this secondary batteries can definitely come in handy to brawl. Yes, you do have the heal. The biggest powerful thing about the Ohio still in this 2025 is these heals. You have 38.8 seconds of cooldown time, and you have 5 heals. You can have another heal with the help of the improved repair ward readiness. That is 6 heal. So it's difficult to kill Ohio unless you just burn down your heals quickly. Like you just survive a lot because of that cooldown time. That is insanely good, 40 seconds, and you have slightly better cooldown time because of the flags and all that stuff. So yeah, cooldown time 37 seconds. So that is pretty juicy and impressive. You can even reduce it once you take potential damage from the help of improved party readiness. So that is like really making a good package. Ohio, big weakness of the Ohio, obviously you do have a vulnerable Citadel. The Citadel is definitely possible that you take, and also the speed is, I would say the speed is like really, the speed is not. 29.4 seconds is one of the reasons. Like if you would have like 33 seconds base, maybe like in the case of Iowa class battleships, that would have just make me think that it's like too powerful still, because your repositioning is too good, but the speed is lacking. Even with the flag, you have 29.4 seconds, and if you just take out the flag, you have like what, 28 seconds? Sorry, 28 knots. So I don't know why. Compared to the Montana, why it has 2 knots less, I don't understand. This is something that I don't like about the Ohio. But there are like not a whole lot of weaknesses on the Ohio still. It still punches hard. Your overmatch is still there against cruisers that have 30mm decks and side armor. So Ohio is still extremely powerful, survivable. Can't say about the entire defense that is like crazy good. 91 rating is good, but again, the CVs can definitely hump on you and just farm you a lot. There's nothing you can do. But even then, your survivability does helps a lot. And for me, because of the guns, accurate guns, survivability still makes it very powerful. I would highly recommend Hull alongside with Ohio, 100%. If you are looking to get the research bureau ships, definitely get these ships first before taking a look at anywhere else. All right, so we will be taking a look at the Tier 9, another American ship that is battleship, but having cruiser caliber guns. That is Illinois. At Tier 9, I would say it definitely has a special niche. For a battleship having cruiser guns, 12 guns by the way, and by the way, these are Des Moines guns. The reload time might not be like Des Moines because these are 12 guns, and the reload time at Tier 9 is definitely, not that good. Not that good means like it's exactly not Des Moines, okay? But it's still really good at Tier 9. That's what I want to say. A tier, powerful. I have to say the Illinois is still pretty interesting and having pretty unique niche that it fills. Like there are not a whole lot of battleship that does have cruiser caliber guns with really good armor, which I will show. So the reason why Illinois is good, obviously Illinois is good because you have cruiser caliber guns on a battleship hull, which means that you are not going to be overmatched by battleship. That is a huge thing for a battleship. Like you have the DPM, like cruiser. I mean, cruiser's strength is the DPM and the HE spam and the AP on broadside that it can just chunk you on a battleship over time and time and time. But what if I give you a battleship like Illinois that have cruiser caliber guns, almost like a Des Moines DPM, definitely not exactly Des Moines, but lower, but still very, very close and good. And meanwhile, at the same time, you give battleship level of survivability on these cruiser guns, it just suddenly makes a ship very powerful, without a doubt. Now, I'm not going to say super powerful like Ohio, because it's still, at least in my personal opinion, I am not a big fan of these shell arcs that, I mean, you want to throw. Like Des Moines shell arcs, if you have played Des Moines, you know that at around 18 kilometer, 19, 20 kilometer, 17 kilometer, it gets a bit difficult to shoot onto the long, onto the battleship that are like further away. That's one of the things that I'm not liking about the Illinois. But again, at medium ranges, to close ranges, Illinois will definitely gonna be really terrifying for another battleship to deal with. Like you do have 32 millimeter pen, and you can just simply pen their bows all day, setting fires with 16% fire chance all day. You just already know what's gonna happen, right? So that is really, really good thing about the Illinois. Like fire chances, just like Des Moines. Des Moines guns, you slap cruisers. You do. I'm not gonna say that you have cruiser dispersion. You don't have cruiser dispersion, but it has like closer to battle cruiser dispersion. But again, I don't want to go to the numbers here. I just want to get through this quickly. But again, the dispersion mod, this artillery plotting room mod 2, that does help a lot. Again, this is a game changer for American ships, so that is there. And if you want to increase the range, sure, you do it, although this is not good at all. Like 21.4 kilometer is basically impractical, so maybe you don't use it. But I use it for other reasons. You can definitely use secondary battery mod over main battery mod, especially main battery mod, because your third traverse can be improved a lot better. It already has good third traverse, but this can be improved even further. So that is like the better thing compared to like artillery plotting. Like this is I don't know why I picked this. Just maybe trying and testing out at long ranges, like how this works. But yeah, you do have heals. Again, battleship level of heals. If I'm not wrong, it does have improved heals like you find on North Carolina, Iowa, and Montana. So you heal back quite some HP. That is pretty good. You do have 5 heals. So like this is like a good package. Your guns will outperform battleships in a long run. Meanwhile, they can't overmatch you, most likely. Unless we talk about Musashi Yamato, that can shoot at your bows. But still, they can't overmatch you. They don't want to set you on fires because your DPM is pretty bad. So you just out DPM them. And then you can just out farm cruisers as well. I mean, again, as cruisers could be a bit not difficult, but different. But even then, like Illinois is that sort of a ship. Like it's a very unique experience that you will definitely gonna have some good time in. Meanwhile, also one more thing about the Illinois that I would like to say, that look at this Citadel armor. Like Citadel is below waterline, and I'm not gonna lie, I have a very difficult time citadeling Illinois. The Citadel of Illinois is definitely difficult to get touched. For example, in the case of Missouri, again, Iowa class battleship, you have the waterline Citadel, very easy to be deal with. Like you can just absolutely do hammer on the Missouri and even the Iowa, if you can see here, basically kind of like that. But Illinois, look at that Citadel. It's super low, or I would at least I'm gonna say below waterline. So difficult to Citadel. This is my experience, and you will find out the speed is good, turning circle is good, the rudder shift is not exactly like cruiser. So yeah, battleship sort of capabilities with cruiser caliber guns definitely makes it interesting and can potentially make it a very good damage farmer with HE shells setting fires. But again, at long ranges, it's not a sniper at all. You cannot play it like a sniper. You have to play it at medium ranges. You don't have access to anything like I would say the Ohio, Georgia levels of heal, like 40 seconds of cooldown time. So you have to be very careful if you're getting set into fires in return. But you do have American DCP 30 seconds with the help of this if you want to. So that makes it pretty interesting. Powerful enough to be putting it at A tier. I like this ship. And I would say you play it and you will actually find out that farming battleships is pretty insane in this ship. And you can out-farm them with the help of cruiser guns. Alright, so the next ship that I would like to talk about is going to be the Paolo Emilio, which is a tier 9 Italian destroyer. Now, this destroyer is very unique. I don't think so there are a lot of destroyers like this. Yes, with the help of the buffs that Wargaming has done, like with the Attilio Rigolo. They have given that exhaust smoke generator and the speed boost, if I'm not wrong, buffed. Like, you can smoke up and just rush to the target, but they don't have a lot of hard-hitting torpedoes that you want to like portray like Paolo Emilio. But what Paolo Emilio can do still is YOLOing into the targets and just do damage with Shimakaze torpedoes, and it is very, very good in this. And having a lot, and you have a lot of fun doing this. Like in the case of fun factor, only in the case of fun factor, Paolo Emilio can easily go into maybe A tier. I'm not gonna say A plus because there are so many hydros and there are so many like radars that can counter you. At least I can start from A. Sometimes you will have an experience where you will see, oh, I just depth strike 2 battleships in a row, and you will be feeling like powerful. And sometimes you will have a situation where you're just not going to be able to do anything, except you have to use the guns, which again, the guns are not like super impressive, even though they do have still some niche with SAP, DPM, and hard-hitting guns. But I would say the Paolo Emilio is, in terms of game impact, average, but in terms of fun, it's powerful. Absolutely. it's definitely, in terms of fun, pretty good at A tier. But again, I would put it into the C tier. A lot of people might rate it maybe more just because of the fun factor, but again, high impact gaming, you cannot have it in this ship for sure. And I usually rate ships based on game impact and their uniqueness more. So that's one of the things. So here's the Paolo Emilio. And the thing about the Paolo Emilio is really like, you just rush in. You just literally rush in, smoke up. You have really good exhaust smoke generator for that, 50 seconds of action time, and you do have the 25% speed boost. That's going to help you a lot into rushing a battleship. And just you basically use Shimakaze torpedo damage level of torpedoes. And you basically close the distance and you basically depth strike battleship. Like, you have 2 torpedo sets on one side. You can just either use one set here onto the right and to the left, and then you have one set remaining to be, sorry. Oh, did I messed up? I was saying that you can use 2 sets at least on the right and 1 set on the left, because this set can be sent even there or even there. I hope you understand that, right? So yeah, there is limitation. I'm not gonna say that you can just send all 12 torpedoes on one side. That's what I want to say. This is one thing that you should be keeping in mind. But even though 8 torpedoes usually are enough to even depth strike a 100,000 HP, for example, battleship that has 30% or 20% sort of armor. Sorry, not the armor, the torpedo belt. So you can just depth strike them. 6 kilometer range again is a big weakness, and as well as the strength. Like, you are kind of forced to use these torpedoes at close ranges. Meanwhile, sometimes you can do is basically smoke up and just bowing into a battleship, close the distance enough, and just turn out and maybe get to the island and just send those torpedoes. That you can also do, but it's mostly for YOLO purposes. And that's where the fun comes in. Anti-defense, it's no fun. The carrier's just gonna farm you, make you smoke up, make you use the speed boost. Your speed boost, the maneuverability is such that you can have insane speed, like over 55 knots or more than that. So that's where the Paolo Emilio really shines. Hydro, radar cruisers definitely make Paolo Emilio sucks. And that's where you basically sometimes having an engagement where you just have to use the guns for more than half of the time in the game. Because you cannot literally YOLO onto a ship because there is a cruiser that has hydro or battleship that has a hydro. So ambushing power is very limited. It's difficult, but it's super fun. And if you want to have this niche, which I don't think so, there's still any other destroyer that can literally do that, Paolo Emilio is a lot of fun, and I would highly recommend you for that. In terms of game impact, you can have sometimes game impact where you just basically kill a destroyer with guns and depth strike a cruiser and a battleship at the same time. You can just do that by just pushing in, and then you basically like a demolition bomb. You basically, if you're able to precisely your time by pushing good enough, you basically blast and destroy 2-3 ships in return. That's where the game impact might you see in the Paolo. Otherwise, it's not something like, I'm gonna say, having a very high game impact. But still, very interesting, unique. But game impact wise, C tier average. Only buy it if you want to have a fun aspect of YOLOing ships. But even then, you have to play with with a lot of brain cells in mind, because again, you don't want to rush into hydros, right? Yeah. All right. So the next ship is going to be the Sevastopol. Sevastopol is obviously a Russian cruiser that has 380 millimeter guns, and honestly, the Sevastopol is good. I want to rate it to be powerful, and it can be sometimes powerful, but I don't know why I would pick the Sevastopol for any I don't know. Like, for me, it's like, it's not filling it any sort of niche. Like, for example, Petro does so much good with the guns. Stalingrad do so much good with the guns. Yes, you have 380mm guns. You can overmatch 25mm armor on a cruiser hull. But even then, I don't like Sevastopol. For me, it's good. Maybe I could put it into strong, but then there are some issues where it will have some limitations, and that's why it kind of gets it to this B tier. So there is the Sevastopol. Now, the strength, Nikolai Kuznetsov. You can easily put it without any downside, without any retraining. That is like good thing. You will get extra DCP and some healing back once you have HP less than 10,000. And you definitely needed that, because the weakness of the Sevastopol, which I absolutely do not like, is that you have limited fast damage control teams. So you cannot like press insta repair at long ranges if someone just set fires. Like, this is a big downside. But again, obviously, they have given you a like super heals, but they are super heals that just have an action time like 60 seconds. Like, it takes a lot of time to heal back a lot of HP, and then you have a very long cooldown time as well, 120 seconds. So that is definitely weird. Like, if you caught pretty much off guard and you cannot tank a lot of damage during this time, between this cooldown time, you might die maybe. But although I highly doubt that because of the Kuznetsov, because that's gonna save you a lot of times. But even then, this repair party is not something that I like. But it can definitely tank fires and floods, and it can noticeably do like a lot of overall tanking compared to other cruisers, like for example Stalin or Petro. At least that is unique in that way. Like, healing potential is definitely a lot good, but that's basically about it. Like, I will talk about the guns, but you have the speed boost. Yes, the speed boost does have almost more than a minute worth of action time, so you can have some weird utility where you can speed juke ships, battleships, and dodge some shells, or you just disengage if you are in a cooldown. Like, if you have used the heal and you are in cooldown, you don't want to get set fires upon fires. Maybe you don't want to get 3 fires on yourself if you have DCP'd. Even though your cooldown time is good, but still, like, you just want to make sure to run, you have the speed boost. That's where it's good. But here comes the big problem. Sevastopol guns are only 6 of them, and your reload time is terrible at 21.1 seconds, even though you have cruiser dispersion. And you have Soviet shell velocity guns, hard-hitting guns. They have almost 12k alpha. They do really hitting hard. They have really good AP pen. But then, I mean, the moment the battleship's gonna angle against you, cruisers are gonna angle against you, your overall DPM, or at least the ability to damage on broadsides, is just severely gonna get punished or diminished. Like, you just cannot do anything. There are so many cruisers that can easily able to bow tank you, and you just cannot do anything except you just out heal them somewhat. But they can out farm you as well if your cooldown time does not come on time. Like, your cooldown time is relatively higher. It's more than 100 seconds, more than 80 seconds, 120 seconds. So it takes a lot of time to get your heal back. This is a big problem, not gonna lie. So these guns, the HE DPM is absolutely anemic. The AP, yes, they just hit absolutely hard. It does feel some niche, but I mean, the Petro does. And Petro, the Stalingrad, both are equally capable on broadsides. I mean, especially Stalingrad, you just simply citadel them at broadsides. Yes, you have improved pen angles like Petro, if I'm not wrong. Even then, I just don't I just don't like this, the consumables, and especially this fast damage control team. Like, yeah, with the moment you will have like no, I would say these DCPs, it's going to be pretty weird experience. Like, you just have to really rely on the heals to just heal back fires or floods or something like that. And you don't have, by the way, just like I said, really good guns, HE guns to just deal with anything that is bowing in. So yeah, that are some of the things that I just don't like. The concealment is good. The concealment is, even though very good, I still kind of feel like it's powerful. I don't want to just really say that it's worth it still. I don't know. You will be overmatched. Obviously, you're going to get overmatched. You do have the armor. Citadel is possible. Everything is possible. Like, you take damage at long ranges, Citadel, definitely possible. Still, I want to make it powerful. I mean, Sevastopol can definitely go down powerful, but again, your guns can be sometimes anemic if the battleships and cruisers suddenly started to be bowing in. Like, what you will be doing against cruisers if they don't have 25mm bow armor? Yeah, mostly ships does have, but again, Des Moines can definitely chew you up, or many other cruisers can chew you up if you are not aware of the HE spam that is coming towards you. Even though you do have heals, still, could be putting it powerful, could be putting it here. I believe that it is B tier. It's a good ship, certainly better than these ships. I don't know. I'm just gonna put it here. Not worth it for me. I would rate it. I would rate these ships more than these ones for sure. All right, so the next ship is going to be the Italian battleship Sicilia that has 16 guns like that of Colombo, but not having sap shells. Instead, it has HE shells. And have extra exhaust smoke, which lasts longer, and have sap secondaries, which is the unique part of this ship. But is it better than Colombo? Oh, absolutely not. Oh, not even close. For me, I mean, Sicilia, I don't know why I would play this ship. Honestly, if there's Colombo with leg mod, I don't think so. Give me a second. Let me just switch it to the Sicilia. All right, so there is the Sicilia. And the reason why I don't like this ship at all, I mean, you do have 16 guns, but you have HE shells. That is a big downside compared to, I would say, the Colombo. And your dispersion can be sometimes wonky. Not gonna lie, you do have a lot of shells. You do have 1.6 sigma like Colombo, but Colombo does have leg mod, and that leg mod is a game changer. That improves dispersion like quite a bit. And on top of that, you don't wanna maybe spec into the dispersion if you have Sicilia, because this ship is a secondary sort of sap shells brawler. Like, you have sap shells instead of HE shells, but for some reason, these sap shells, I don't find them to be like super game impacting. I don't know. They just don't set fires, and upon angling, they just shatters quite a lot. It's weird. Like, I find the sap shells to be pretty weird. I mean, the reload time isn't gonna be makes you impressive whatsoever. They take time to just reload. So I don't know. The secondary batteries of Sicilia, the sap shells that they marketing the Sicilia that makes it really interesting is actually still not interesting whatsoever. And it is so much less interesting with the sap secondaries for some weird reason that I actually force myself to use aiming system mod 1, so that at least I would have a dispersion, because you don't have a repair party that has like Ohio levels of cooldown time. Like, you are a secondary brawler, and in this time of meta where you absolutely need like 40 seconds of cooldown time to push into the HE spams or any other ships that have really good TPM to out farm you, you don't have the cooldown time to deal with them. And then I mean, exhaust smoke generator, sure, you can use it 60 seconds better than Colombo, but then Colombo still has it. Colombo still has 3 smokes without any issues, and I mean, it's almost like Colombo with the exception of having extra consumable. I still don't feel that interesting or interested in this ship, like, at all. Like, almost a lot of other stats are pretty much similar. The firing angles, the turrets are basically gonna turn like this. They don't need to take like 180 degrees like this. They basically simply turn like this, which happens to be with the Colombo. So I don't know what sort of niche it is filling, except I'm just having a battery load time. Like, yeah, at least Sicilia has battery load time over Colombo. Like, for example, as you can see here, Colombo does have 34.8 seconds, but that is also because I'm using the improved range finders or the leg mod. Otherwise, it's still definitely slightly higher, even without this. I mean, if I use the main battery mod 3, it still has a higher load time compared to Sicilia, and that is the only advantage that Sicilia has, but then you have really bad overall dispersion if you are not using this aiming system mod 1. I don't see a reason picking the Sicilia. I don't know. For me, it's not a ship that is worth it because you have Colombo. If you have Colombo, don't look into this. I mean, I could easily put it into C tier, but it's not that bad at all. Like, in terms of performance, it can do well. Like, Colombo is like, maybe Colombo is here, and Sicilia is like there, maybe there, under some situations, or there. But again, not unique enough. If it would be a bit unique, like having short cooldown time of heals, and maybe the sap secondaries are somewhat decent, which I haven't felt in my experience, I would have rated it to be powerful. But it's not. For me, there's a lot of difference in the Colombo power and the Sicilia power. Like, I don't know. I just don't like Sicilia. That's my opinion. You can maybe have a different opinion, but I feel that it's just not that good compared to Colombo, like, at all. So that's why I'm putting it here. Okay, Slava. Slava, I would rate the Slava to be, I would say, still powerful. Not gonna lie, it still has very, very good guns with very, very good shell velocity. Yes, Slava, because of the guns, like, still because of the guns, I'm rating it powerful. Maybe you can say it's good, but I still feel it to be having a niche with its AP that just can't be rivaled. Like, yes, there is Satsuma. Yes, there are some battleships that have accuracy, good vertical, like amazing vertical dispersion, like Wisconsin or Bungo. Yes, there are battleships that have overmatching. Bungo does have overmatch. Accuracy, Wisconsin has accuracy. Satsuma has FK. Sure, I mean, Satsuma is tier 11, so you cannot rate Satsuma with. But even upon all that, just because of the guns, if I would rate the hull, the armor profile of the Slava, it's basically C tier. It's maybe D tier. It's bad. It's really bad. For a battleship, it's terrible. But the guns I felt to be still amazing, satisfying, and I just settled battleships at long ranges, where with the help of the shell velocity, like, the shells come to the target really quickly. I still feel that the Slava does have some niche going for it. It's not unique anymore, but it is still good with the guns. Like, guns are the reason why I want to play Slava, and it makes it powerful. If you play in Division, oh boy, it's good. It's really good. So let me explain a bit why Slava, a bit like in detail. All right, so Slava, I want to give you one more important sort of, reasoning that Slava is powerful in the randoms, but Slava is going to be good or average in the ranked battles. In the ranked battles, I would highly recommend not to play Slava. It's pretty bad. Ranked battles, not powerful whatsoever. There are ships that exactly knows what Slava really is. Most of the time, the players will mitigate quite a lot of that broadside damage potential that Slava has. You don't want to be playing Slava in the ranked battles. It's average, it's not good, not worth it for playing ranked battles, not worth it for having game impact. But what it is really worth it for is the guns. The guns in the random battles is just amazing. I still believe that Slava guns are still not like sort of power crapped. Like, the shell velocity is still like the best, like literally the best. Yes, you do have less alpha. You have 12k alpha, which I have increased up to 13,000 with the help of the captain skills. Yes, you do have the armor that is 32mm, very, very vulnerable to be getting spammed by cruisers. Like, except for this armor, which can help a lot compared to Thunderer, Conqueror, or French battleships. Like, this armor does help a lot, but then, yeah, this armor does suck. This armor grossly sucks, like 25mm bow and stern. you're just gonna be eating a lot of damage from the random shells battleship shooting. Like literally, that's what happens. And that's the reason why Slava, in terms of that armor department and carrying games in ranked, is just not good whatsoever. I'm emphasizing on the guns. The guns have one of the best vertical dispersion in the game. In fact, I used the range mod to even improve the dispersion, vertical dispersion further. Yeah, it's a bit of a like weird thing to do, but I find that the vertical dispersion gets just super cracked if you're shooting at 18 kilometer. And even without using the range mod, I still felt that the dispersion is like still very, very good. That you can settle battleships at even 20 kilometers, 21 kilometers. Like these are the long range numbers that many other battleships struggle to basically settle them. Maybe the Satsuma, that's one of the battleships that come into my mind, but that's a different thing. And Slava still fills up the niche in a very weird, interesting way, I would say. Anti-defense is actually good. Maneuverability is nothing too special at all. Like it's a bad in terms of turning cycle. Speed is okay, 31 knots. The guns is the reason. You cannot overmatch cruisers. Yes, the guns are tier 9. The guns literally feel like tier 9 in terms of overmatching capabilities, in terms of AP performance, alpha. But the shell velocity, the penetration, like stupidly high, insane penetration, is the reason. And the citadeling battleships and at long ranges citadeling cruisers is the reason why I love Slava. Sniping feel of the Slava is still the best compared to any other battleship at this tier. No matter what, I still love Slava. I mean, you can maybe say that this is my personal niche and opinion. Maybe you might not agree with this. I love guns. The guns are still unique, quite by some margin, if not quite margin. Like if the Slava, for example, released like many years ago, and if I would recommend you the Slava at that time when it got released, it is definitely very interesting and also very powerful at that time. Because there are not a whole lot of unique battleships, grossly overpowered battleships like Wisconsin Gold, which I have already explained. But still, Slava is powerful. I love Slava. I have some interesting love with this ship because of the insane accuracy. I just love it. The shell velocity, the Russian shell velocity is something that I'm literally obsessed with. It's just so easy to just hit at target. So yeah, for me, powerful enough to be at A tier. So the next ship is going to be the Speijik, which is a tier 9 Dutch cruiser that has 15 kilometer airstrikes, like HE airstrikes, and it has cruiser dispersion on these guns. Honestly, if you ask me, this ship is gonna be just please. I mean, yes, Paolo Emilio for the fun factor can go easily here, but it's neither fun nor it's having the game impact that I can put it here. Maybe I can even put it like Speijik. To be honest, I could put it here. This makes more sense. Just don't buy. Just literally don't buy. There are like a lot of other ships. Please, do yourself a favor and just don't buy. Why? Let me explain why. Alright, so this is Speijik. And the reason why I don't like this ship is not because of the armor scheme or anything. Like the survivability is actually pretty decent at 51,000. The armor is actually good, to be honest. Like you have 30mm armor plating at tier 9, which is pretty resistant to be overmatched by battleship. And in fact, you have 50mm side plating. Even though you do have 27mm side plating, like this torpedo protection, that can be vulnerable to take some AP damage. It's weird, but it still works in terms of armor scheme. The armor scheme is okay. However, what it's not okay is, yes, you have cruiser dispersion compared to, I would say, the the Gudeliu. It has battle cruiser dispersion, but it loses out that overmatching capability. You have 203mm guns. Your reload time might look good. The guns might look okay, but even then, what you are missing out entirely in this ship is, and the biggest gimmick and the reason why you want to play Speijik is because of this. Like you are losing a single airstrike. Like usually you have 2 airstrikes, right? In the Gudali, you have 2 airstrikes. You can actually have 3 airstrikes, right? And even 4 airstrikes if you have the, the Conrad Helfrich. But in the case of Van Speijik, you have literally 1 airstrike. And it's not the, I mean, you might be thinking, okay, it has 15-kilometer range, so that's improved, right? Well, it's improved in the range, but in terms of the bombs damage and the penetration capacity and the fire chance, well, if you look at the, for example, let me show you the tier 10 one. If I just directly compare it, for example, Prince Van Orange, I think that's a better ship to compare it with, because that also have 15-kilometer range. But look at the aircraft HP, like look at the HP of the aircraft. It's actually, I didn't realize it, but it's actually pretty good. But the reload time is the biggest reason that I don't like, and only 1 attack flight compared to the Prince Van Orange. Like Prince Van Orange has 15-kilometer, but again you have solid bomb damage, 48% fire chance, 46-millimeter pen, 8,500 damage. You're not getting any of that in Van Speijik. Like basically completely neutered down to the ground. Like I can't even just say, I mean, for example, if I rate Prince Van Orange in tier 10, Van Speijik does not feel like tier 9 at all in terms of the airstrike. It feels like tier 8 or tier 7. Like that's how much down and out the bombs, airstrike HE bombs are, at least compared to Prince Van Orange. Not even close to the hard-hitting capabilities like the Prince Van Orange has, with at least having 15-kilometer. Van Speijik has none of that. This is the biggest reason why I don't like this ship. I mean, you are more towards gun-centric, and you don't even have the extra airstrike that you kind of like to have, and not having that pen damage alpha, and not having those things that Prince Van Orange has. So, not worth it. Please, do yourself a favor. Just don't buy this ship. It's not that interesting whatsoever. Can sometimes make it work, but man, it's just a cruiser which can be easily replaced by many other cruisers. I mean, Rune, you can play Rune. Like you have 9 guns, you can literally play Rune, the German cruiser, and that would be a solid ship to pick. And you don't have even torpedoes, so at close range, it's gonna definitely struggle a lot. However, where it does not struggle is the anti-defense. Your anti-defense is actually pretty nuts. Not gonna lie, with the defensive air fire that you have, it can actually shoot down planes of tier 8 carriers. Gonna be having a very difficult time. Tier 10 carriers can farm this ship, but tier 8 carriers, boy, it's gonna be having issues facing Van Speijik. Other than that, there's nothing else to say. Anti-defense is only good thing about this ship. Otherwise, you should not buy this ship. Alright, so the next ship is going to be the German O-class heavy cruiser, that is Siegfried. Now, Siegfried, in terms of the gun performance, like mostly it resembles to that of like Sevastopol, but it's a German version, not the Russian version. So there are differences with this ship. So for me, the Siegfried is actually pretty good. At tier 9, you have 380mm guns, by the way, and have alpha damage slightly better than Sevastopol. It's kind of weird, like, and having a couple of other things that Sevastopol does not have, but Siegfried does not have the healing capacity. I can put it Siegfried to be powerful. It's definitely powerful for me. I like Siegfried more than Sevastopol. For me, I just like this. At tier 9, Siegfried still at like 380mm guns started to feel a bit like okay. Tier 10, completely bad. But tier 9, it's just okay. I'm not going to say it's good, but these are Bismarck guns. Let me show you that quickly. So this is Siegfried. I kind of would rate it better than I would say the Sevastopol for sure, because it's at tier 9, 380mm guns with cruiser dispersion feels good. Not gonna lie, the cruiser dispersion at this tier feels good. You have better range. Sevastopol, by the way, does not have really good range for tier 10. And Siegfried at tier 9 having 20.6km range. On top of that, you have spotter plane. Like, wow. You have spotter plane. That's pretty good, right? And you have a 6km hydro. Meanwhile, Sevastopol has obviously not that powerful thing like German hydro. And so that's why these are the strengths that I kind of liked about this ship. Gunther Lurian's not going to do much. I mean, Sevastopol's Kuznetsov is gonna do a lot better. This Gunter Lutin is not gonna do much, 100%. Except if you get a spotting ribbons, 3 spotting ribbons, you get some healing back, which is, I'm not gonna say it's gonna be making anything different like at all, but still. And you're not gonna be having a very easy time proccing main battery loader. Maybe you can have it like barely at the end game. Like at the end game, maybe you have a main battery load time, but still, it's not gonna be like really possible. And also, by the way, look at the alpha damage. You have 12k alpha damage while using the AP shells. Meanwhile, at tier 10 Sevastopol, having less AP alpha because it has overall base less AP alpha. That's like weird. Siegfried has better AP alpha at tier 9 compared to the Sevastopol, so more DPM. And also, I mean, sure, your fire chance is also like pretty much similar, by the way. 34% fire chance versus Sevastopol 34% again, except only the alpha is reduced. But again, fire chance really matters a lot for me. And Siegfried with this reload time, that's like barely different. Like, it's weird. Like, the gun performance of Siegfried is almost, or sometimes even slightly better than Sevastopol. That's like the thing that I kind of liked about Siegfried. Like, at tier 9, these 6 guns with cruiser dispersion, like really accurate guns, started to make more sense than Sevastopol at tier 10. And your HP pool is also pretty good, 37% torpedo protection compared to Sevastopol's only 34%. Even though that's not a whole lot of difference, I still kind of like Siegfried, without a doubt. The HP pool is not that much different as well. Slightly less, like barely less. I mean, you do have super heals or long duration heals with the help of Sevastopol, but I don't like that limited DCPs, which Siegfried does not have to suffer, like you do have normal DCPs. That is pretty good. And that's the reason why I like the Siegfried a lot much more. And you have torpedoes as well, so at close ranges you can send torpedoes and can kill the ships out there. And meanwhile, you can use Eye in the Sky if you want to. That's like a pretty decent advantage. Like, you have, like, you just can't have like super extra range. Sevastopol has none of that. Like, Sevastopol does only get speed boost, which, I mean, someone can like more than spotter plane, but I do like spotter plane more because it also slightly improves the vertical dispersion. Believe it or not, it kind of works that way as well. So yeah, and they also, by the way, buff the Siegfried and Aegir. I don't exactly remember, but they just buff the airstrikes. I don't know to which ship, but this, yeah, let me just compare it with Aegir. I think it's basically same. I don't exactly remember, but yeah, they have buffed the airstrikes of some cruiser like Siegfried and Aegir, which also kind of matters in terms of taking on submarines. Especially, you do have 6-kilometer hydro. That does help a lot, by the way. So that's why I like Siegfried pretty well. The concealment difference is there. Sevastopol has better concealment, but even then, the guns are punchy. You have Bismarck guns. They don't have insane pen like Sevastopol, but you are at tier 9. I feel Siegfried is powerful in my opinion, and I kind of like this design at tier 9 with having like really good accurate cruiser dispersion guns. You will definitely like it more than the Sevastopol. For me, it's better than Sevastopol. I liked it more. The armor scheme is almost like Sevastopol, like in terms of the deck and side armor. Like, if you compare it here, I mean, you can see here why I'm saying this. So at 30mm armor at tier 9 does help a lot, and you do have like 90mm armor. If you are fully angled, this can bounce a lot of battleships. Otherwise, you take a lot of pen damage as well. So it does have some issues as well at the same time with 90mm armor belt. But even then, I love Siegfried for sure. And I would highly recommend you guys to get this ship over the Sevastopol. Alright, so the next ship is gonna be the Commonwealth Destroyer. That is the Vampire 2. Now, Vampire 2 does have crawling smokes. This is basically a daring, but having better DPM and having different characteristics, which kind of resembles it with Commonwealth flavor. So, Vampire 2, yep, I like it. I like it a lot. I think it's very powerful. I think it's solid A+ tier. But notice there is no S tier or broken ship. In my personal opinion, I don't think so there is any ship that is broken. Yeah, I think all of these ships, like for example the Hull, the Ohio, and the Vampire 2 are powerful, but not broken. Okay, with that said, let's talk about the Vampire 2. So, Vampire 2, why it is good? Let me explain that with the help of the ship in the port. So, why I think it's very powerful? It's basically a daring class destroyer. Almost daring. In terms of the HE and AP performance, it's basically fully resembles to that of daring. No difference whatsoever. But however, you have better reload time. I think it's having 10% better DPM overall compared to daring. Now that is a good thing, right? Your firing range at 12.8 kilometer is pretty good. Your HP pool, however, only gonna be remaining 24,000. Unlike daring, you don't have heals. Like, this is the biggest downside, alongside with having a different configuration, that is crawling smoke generator. Now, some people might like it more than the short burst, but most people might not like this. Like, short smokes are a bit more versatile. Meanwhile, crawling smoke is also versatile, but if you use it in a wrong time, you will just waste it fully, right? Meanwhile, at the same time, if you look at the daring, you just used one smoke and you will have 6 remaining, and then you just have to wait for like almost a minute to get it back. Meanwhile, the crawling smoke generator is gonna last for long, and if you waste it along the way, that because you don't have any ship to shoot at, like for example, you kill the destroyers somehow, and then you don't have any battleship, you're just gonna be wasting quite a lot. If you just misposition yourself, the crawling smoke generator is gonna be a big downside, and then you do have a cooldown time of 105 seconds, so it takes a bit of a time to return yourself that crawling smoke generator with another consumable after using one. So yeah, that is one thing that you should be keeping in mind. Yes, the thing about the Vampire 2 that makes it better over daring is the DPM and also the concealment. The concealment of the Vampire 2 is one of the reasons that I kinda liked it a lot more. It has almost torpedo boat or closer to torpedo boat concealment destroyer level with the gunboat performance. Like, insanely good gunboat performance, but then you have 5.8 kilometer concealment. That is better than that is better than daring. That is better than many other gunboat destroyers. Like, not a whole lot of gunboat destroyers does have really good concealment like Vampire 2. So catching DDs like torpedo boats off guard is definitely possible. And meanwhile, you do have also one more thing that daring does not have. That is improved hydro search. 5 kilometer detection of ships, 3.5 kilometer detection of torpedoes. You will spot submarines pretty nicely with the 5 kilometer hydro if they are at periscope, and also you can catch a lot of DDs off guard if they are in the smoke around. If they disengage and you are detected at 5.8 kilometer, they smoke up, you just push them with the hydro and you just basically kill them. As simple as that. Meanwhile, the crawling smoke generator will just crawl alongside with you, because it kind of works like that. You just basically move at the quarter of a speed and you will be staying in the smoke. But if you are moving more than quarter of the speed, then obviously you will be out of the smoke, but you can just come back into the smoke if you slow down the speed. So it is good thing, because if the destroyer does not have smoke and you are using the crawling smoke, if you are spotted, the DD shoots at you, you basically get into the smoke. Meanwhile, he does not have the smoke to disengage if someone spots him for you, and you basically do the same thing like in the case of daring and druid, etc. Like, you can do that in the Vampire 2 in a very unique way. He does not have smoke, you have smoke, but you have to slow down, and it's gonna last long. So you basically kill the DD if he gets spotted for a long time, and then you can catch DDs like this with the hydro. So it's very, very powerful against destroyers, unless you fight with Smolens or Ragnars, and even then you can just have a very, very good time against them under some situations, for sure. So yeah, Vampire 2 is good. Only and by the way, you have the engine boost. So the biggest, I would say, the weakness of the daring, the British destroyer, Tier 10 Tech 3 destroyer, is that it does not have really good speed. But in the case of Vampire 2, you do have improved engine boost. You do have, again, improved acceleration parameters like daring, but you're still getting engine boost is a very, very good thing. So I kind of like this. Even though you can always use the hydroacoustic search mod 1, so improving the hydro won't be bad, but I'm using the improved engine boost duration. Again, something that I love. So because of these things, it's still in a different way powerful like daring. Daring still has its niche, but Vampire 2 can punch harder and can abuse smokes in a very interesting way. Not like daring, but with this, you do have a lot of utility still going for it. I mean, if someone is pushing you, he's doing a big mistake because you can just hide with them in return. So Empire 2 does have pretty nice overall numbers, slightly better than even daring. Only the thing that is worse is no heals, but also one less torpedo set in return. By the way, you can see here you do have only 5 torpedoes, like compared to the daring's 10, and you do have hard-hitting torpedoes, like more hard-hitting than daring, 19.5k versus daring 16k or something. So yeah, even then I would say it's still a kind of a bad torpedoes compared to daring. So that's where it definitely lacks, but having a lot much more key powerful tools like I've explained. So that's why Empire 2, in my opinion, is a very, very strong farming boat. Like your AP does have improved ricochet angles like daring, so you can just punch really nicely onto the broadside battleship's upper belt. So it's pretty good in that as well. So if you can utilize this, I think daring is really solid. Like your HE, like your fire chance is like also like 9%. So you can just go figure it out. You just set fires a lot of fires, without need to use IFHE like in daring, because again you have 19mm HE pen, so you can just farm superstructures no problem. So I like the Vampire 2 a lot. So that's why, for me, I would say it's very powerful, like Ohio and Hull for sure, in a different way. So that is basically it. I hope you understand everything of these ships and also understand its niche, its unique strengths and weaknesses, and why I'm rating them to be there. As you can see, there's no ship that's gotten to the S tier. I don't think so any of these ships is broken, but they are very, very powerful. Under some situations, you can always put them to be broken there, but I don't think so they are in the S tier. I kind of rate S tier to be just too much. Like, for example, the Valparaiso is overpowered. There are some ships like carriers, submarines. There are some battleships, cruiser, destroyer that are just grossly overpowered. But at least in the research bureau area, it's not. So that's why I'm rating them like this. Not like putting a ship here and make you recommend like straight away to just go and just buy the ship. That's not what I'm gonna do. But at least 8+ tier is just like top of the line ships in my opinion, and definitely you should buy them. 8 tier is good. B tier is, you buy after maybe getting a couple of 8 tiers, then you just think of B tier, and then C and D is like totally up to you guys. I mean, if you have extra research points, why not? Like me. So yeah, that's it. I can make a general overview of the research bureau ships, like we'll explain like in very brief, but I will do it in maybe another video. Till then, I hope you guys like this. If you have any comments, please let me know in the comments. I would love to hear your comments and can make more tier list. I'm looking forward to make a cool tier list, so definitely watch out for that. Till then, peace out.